Sana ay asa maayos kayong katayuan sa panonood ng aking video ngayon. Hi folks, ito ang newscaster na si Stephanie Reyes na nag-uulat mula sa Explorer 100 at isang Journey Begins Studio Channel, mangyaring panoorin. Ang Mission Impossible ng Israel Mossad team kung paano pinagplanuhan at isagawa ang pagpasok sa Syrian airspace at matagumpay na pagwasak sa plutonium nuclear facilities ng bansang Syria. Mga ka-explorer, panoorin at mamangha sa husay at galing ng mga Israeli Air Force pilots gamit ang kanilang F-14 at F-15 fighter jets. Courtesy source, salamat sa Wonder YouTube channel. Mangyaring i-like, ibahagi, at mag-subscribe sa aming YouTube channel at gayon din sa Wonder YouTube channel. Without further words, let's go! Ang operasyon para sirain ang nukleyar na proyekto ng Syria, na kilala bilang Operation Orchard, ay isinagawa ng Mossad ng Israel at ng Israeli Air Force, IAF, noong 2007. Narito ang isang maikling buod ng mga pangunahing elemento ng operasyon. Isa, intelligence gathering. Natukoy ni Mossad ang isang kahina-hinalang pasilidad sa Syria noong unang bahagi ng 2007, na matatagpuan malapit sa Deir, ez-Zor. Ang mga ahente ng Mossad ay pumasok sa mga lokasyon na nakatali sa mga opisyal ng Syria at nakakuha ng mahalagang impormasyon, kabilang ang mga larawan na nagsiwalat na ang pasilidad ay isang nuclear reactor na itinayo sa tulong ng North Korean. 2. Madiskarteng Pagpaplano. Pagkatapos ma-verify na ang reactor ay malapit ng gumana, nagpa siya ang mga opisyal ng Israel na kumilos ng mabilis. Nagplano sila ng isang patagang airstrike upang sirain ang reactor bago ito maging functional, na pumipigil sa anumang panganib ng radioactive fallout. 3. Pagpapatupad ng operasyon. Noong gabi ng ika-6 ng Setyembre taong 2007, ang Israeli Air Force, IAF, ay naglunsad ng isang sorpresang airstrike, kasama sa misyon ng mga F-15 at F-16 fighter jet, na lumipad ng mababa upang maiwasan ang pagtuklas ng radar, na pumasok sa airspace ng Syria at matagumpay na binomba ang pasilidad. 4. Secrecy and aftermath. Nanatiling lihim ang operasyon sa loob ng maraming buwan, at hindi ito hayagang kinilala ng Israel o Syria noong una. Itinanggi ng Syria na ang pasilidad ay isang nuclear reactor. Nang maglaon, kinumpirma ng internasyonal na komunidad na ito ay isang plutonium reactor na katulad ng pasilidad ng iyong bayan ng Hilagang Korea. Ang Operation Orchard ay itinuturing na isang kritikal na tagumpay para sa Israeli intelligence at katumpakan ng militar, na pumipigil sa pagbuo ng isang potensyal na armas nuclear ng Syria. Salamat po mga ka-explorer sa pagtangkilik. Pakiusap, don't forget to subscribe at hit the bell icon. Explorer 100 at isang Journey Begins.
Hostile country is trying to build a nuclear bomb. Behind the plot is a mastermind focused on the destruction of Israel.
General Mohammed Slimani hated Israelis, hated the state of Israel.
It will take 3 elite Black Ops units to deal with this menace. Special forces operating deep within enemy territory to confirm the threat.
That was an extremely risky intel gathering mission. If there was a mistake made, that could have been war.
An elite flying unit to take it out.
They destroyed their target, they exited, they lost nothing.
And finally, an assassination unit to deal with the man behind the threat.
3 of them came as scuba divers to his beach house, shot him, and then disappeared.
This is the top secret story of the Israeli strike against Syria. The explosion is so enormous, it registers magnitude 3.6, equivalent to a small earthquake.
It killed several hundred people, destroyed a town of 10,000 people, left 2,000 people wounded.
According to the North Korean government, the train was carrying liquefied petroleum. But before anyone can discover anything more, the regime forbids further reporting on the incident. North Korea, 2004. Deep inside this secretive communist state, a train travels through a remote northern town. Then suddenly, "5,000 miles away, one nation is following the incident with great interest." Meir Dagan is Israel's top spy, the chief of the Israeli intelligence agency, Mossad.
Meir Dagan was a reputation for being very brutal in what he trusted.
North Korea behaving secretly is nothing new. But what intrigues Dagan are intelligence reports that a Syrian aircraft has now landed in North Korea. Contact between North Korea and the Arab world is unusual and highly concerning to Israel. The plane is supposed to be delivering aid, but instead it seems it is being loaded with the bodies of victims of the crash. More than that, the bodies are being transported in lead-lined coffins and are carried by men wearing chemical weapons suits. This is extremely strange. Then Dagan is informed that the bodies in the lead coffins are not North Koreans, but Syrian scientists.
There were 12 of the Syrian Scientific Research Center. They're covert.
A terrifying possibility for Dagan. Could North Korea be helping Syria to build a nuclear weapon? Dagan has to find out more. It becomes a top priority for Mossad years later. A woman walks into a London hotel bar. Her arrival is noticed by a man who has been drinking alone. But this is no innocent meeting. The man is a high-ranking Syrian nuclear official traveling to London alone.
He comes to London.
Unaware he is being watched, the Syrian continues to flirt with the woman.
And she's also impressed by him. Orders another drink and another drink, and he's confident that he has a wonderful way of spending the night.
But he is also unaware that the woman is not as she seems.
He doesn't know that this woman is a part of the Mossad crew, and she was there to keep him busy while her team is breaking into his hotel room.
The Mossad agents are members of the Neviat unit, experts in covert bugging.
Evening to spend, he goes to the bar of the hotel. Wonderful character.
But what the Syrian doesn't know is that he is under surveillance. Mossad had been alerted to the Syrian's visit when he checked into a hotel under a false name.
The Israelis dispatched.
It takes barely seconds for the Neviat team to override the hotel room security. Once inside, they realize they have hit the jackpot. The Syrian official has left his laptop completely unguarded. Immediately, they go to work.
And copy its contents off the hard drive.
The agents transfer the entire contents of the computer hard drive to Mossad HQ in Tel Aviv instantaneously.
They took all the information from the computer, and then they put devices on the computer to monitor any future activity from that computer.
As they leave the room, the female Mossad agent abandons the hapless Syrian. Within 15 minutes, Dagan and his analysts are looking at the files in Tel Aviv.
What they found on his computer was really rather extraordinary.
On one folder, they found JPEGs that looked very odd.
Appearing on the screens in front of Dagan are hundreds of photos documenting the construction of a large industrial facility.
It was clear that this is an unknown facility, a huge one.
The building they saw was quite large, 130 feet by 130 feet by 70 feet tall.
Initially, the building resembles a treehouse on stilts, with pipes leading to a pumping station. Later photos show modifications, and eventually the entire complex is hidden beneath a huge roof. Initially, Dagan is unsure of what the facility might be. But then it begins to dawn on him what the images are showing. He sees large industrial equipment inside the facility. It is an exact replica of something Dagan has seen before in intelligence images from North Korea.
They showed that it was almost
exactly the same reactor. The two were perfectly matched.
Dagan is in no doubt as to what they have uncovered.
the evidence was overwhelming.
North Korea is building a nuclear reactor in Syria.
Further evidence from the laptop confirms it.
There were blueprints of the nuclear power plant. There were pictures of the nuclear power plant.
The Israelis even had photographs of Syrians and North Korean nuclear experts together.
It is Israel's nightmare scenario. A hostile nuclear power on its own doorstep.
It was a nuclear reactor that can be used only for military purpose.
Whoever is building this has only one purpose: to build, to assemble a nuclear bomb.
Eventually, they close in on a remote area of Syria called Al-Kabar, where some highly unusual communications have been monitored.
They intercepted Korea.
It was very far from the capital Damascus. It was in a remote part of northeastern Syria, but not far from the Euphrates River and the border with Iraq.
Israeli satellites now pinpoint a large building at Al-Kabar. Intent on finding out, he orders Israeli satellites to monitor potential...
Dagan came to see Prime Minister Olmert and told him this dramatic news that Syria is in an advanced stage of developing nuclear weapons.
The Israeli Prime Minister immediately recognizes the seriousness of the threat.
Olmert said one thing right at the start, and that was, the Syrian
reactor is already active, then a full destruction of the reactor might cause an enormous environmental pollution and poisoning.
This is an existential threat to Israel. This reactor has to go away.
The only way to be rid of the nuclear weapons program is to blow up the reactor. But first, he has a series of questions for Dagan. Most importantly, how far advanced is the reactor? If it is already operational. According to the North Korean government, an aircraft has now landed in North Korea. Contact between North Korea and the island is unusual. This is extremely strange. Then Dagan is informed that the bodies in the
Syrian scientists from something called the Syrian Scientific Research Center. They're covert.
understood they boarded two Sikorsky CH-53C Stallion helicopters to travel at low altitude and cross the border into Syria. On such missions, the pilots have to negotiate the terrain using night vision goggles. As an extra precaution, some of the commandos are disguised as Syrian soldiers. The commandos are dropped a safe distance from the facility.
Israelis were able to get on the ground within about a mile of this mystery building in northeastern Syria.
As the commandos set off, they know that no matter what, the Syrians must not be alerted to their presence. Once the helicopters are gone, if the Syrians discover them, there is no chance of being rescued.
But that was an extremely risky intel gathering mission. If there was a mistake made and they were compromised, that could have been war.
The Sayeret Matkal commandos come within meters of the Al-Kabar facility and immediately start intelligence gathering.
The unit did the intel collection on the ground, right at the site. That was extremely dangerous. Israeli commandos dressed as Syrian soldiers went and took pictures of the facility.
Of course, they took photographs, but also took soil samples.
Collecting soil and water samples from around the facility is the most important element of the mission. It's the only way Israel can find out for sure if the reactor is operational.
If the reactor is active, then a very small portion, not lethal, but very, very small portion of radioactive substance would be found in the water.
Once the intel collection is complete, the commandos hide their tracks and prepare to depart. But then,
they were almost caught. They left the scene in the very last minute.
the commandos remain undetected. And the mission complete, they return to Israel with the soil and water samples.
It's essentially the top unit in the army. Their job is to go on special operations that are considered beyond the scope of your regular troops.
It's a unit modeled after the British SAS. SEAL teams are similar to it, Delta Force is similar to it. They're some of the most highly trained units in the world.
The Sayeret Matkal has one particular specialism, operating covertly behind enemy lines.
The expertise of Sayeret Matkal is to infiltrate enemy countries in silent intelligence gathering operations.
They've gone into Jordan, they've gone into Lebanon, they've done missions in and out of these countries undetected.
Whilst never officially admitted, it seems that on an overcast night in midsummer, the selected commandos prepare to set out on their mission. They head deep behind enemy lines to confirm the existence of the Syrian nuclear weapons program.
The Israelis have been very secretive about how they got there, but certainly they are very adept at using low-flying, almost silent helicopters.
In a government laboratory in Tel Aviv, the samples are tested for nuclear contamination. The results of the exhaustive tests are delivered to Olmert and Dagan. The soil and water samples collected by the Sayeret Matkal commandos do contain traces of nuclear contamination, but crucially, not at levels that indicate the reactor is fully operational.
The samples prove that the reactor is still inactive.
This is critical news. It means Olmert can now give the order to take it out. Olmert calls a meeting of Israel's top military and intelligence chiefs. They are all agreed on one thing.
However this reactor got started and whenever it got started, the end is clear. The reactor is intolerable. We're not going to allow it, and it's going to go away.
The only question is how to destroy it. The first option is to send the Sayeret Matkal back in.
Perhaps sending in soldiers, again a Sayeret Matkal commando team, to attack on the ground, hoping that in secret you could get enough Israeli commandos and explosives to the scene to blow up the building.
They know that they can get people to the site, but there are problems with this tactic.
If you have to deploy special forces, it's a huge operation, very dangerous operation. They have to penetrate the site. They have to bring a lot of explosive.
Above all, they can't be sure that a commando operation will pack enough firepower.
Frankly, the Israeli military had doubts about that.
You have a very large reactor built of reinforced concrete and steel. You can't send 5 guys in there, with backpacks that full of explosives. There's not enough explosives.
Olmert's only option is to strike from the air.
It looked like using the Israeli Air Force would be smarter.
Air power has an advantage. It can come like a light, it's very speedy. It can do the job with a lot of ordnance and disengage before the enemy understands what happened. So if you have to choose between the two alternatives, usually the airstrike is much more efficient and less risky.
The Prime Minister gives the order to prepare for an aerial assault on the Syrian reactor. It will be known as Operation Orchard. And for it to succeed, Olmert alerts another of Israel's Special Forces units. Squadron 69, known as the Hapatashim, the Hamas Squadron. There is no squadron better suited for a mission to destroy an enemy nuclear program. That's because they've done it before. "25 years earlier, 8 Hapatashim pilots flew into Iraq to bomb a nuclear facility being built by Saddam Hussein.
I was a fighter pilot, a major, a deputy squadron commander who prepared himself to destroy the nuclear reactor.
Evading Iraqi air defenses, they take out the facility in a clinical strike.
The whole operation from takeoff to the attack was 1 hour, 43 minutes and 30 seconds.
But a quarter century later, an attack on Syria is a much harder prospect. But a quarter century later, an attack on Syria is a much harder prospect.
The Israeli Air Force says they can make something look easy, but it's never easy. Even to fly to a target in Syria, you don't just fly right across the border.
For decades, Syria has been developing one of the most formidable anti-aircraft defense systems in the world. They have installed the Russian-built Tor M1 air defense system and have multiple surface-to-air missile batteries ready to repel any air attack.
Nothing is easy when it comes to attacking a country that has anti-aircraft systems, and so the Israelis worked hard on their countermeasures.
The Hapatashim has aircraft specifically designed to evade such air defenses. The US-made F-15 and F-16 fighter bombers.
The F-16 is well equipped to cope with a lock-on of a missile battery. We can break the lock. We can use some ECM, flares against guided missiles, and some electronic warfare against the same batteries.
They also carry electronic countermeasures that can fool the Syrian air defense system and allow the attacking craft to enter Syrian airspace undetected. In the meantime, the Hapatashim pilots begin flying practice missions. To be successful, their bombs must hit a precise target point so that they will penetrate the building and explode from within. They practice steep-angle dive bombing runs on a tiny target. It is hundreds of miles within enemy territory, so he calls upon Israel's elite Black Ops unit. In English, they are known as the unit. In Hebrew, they are the Sayeret Matkal.
Sayeret Matkal is the highest elite commando unit of the Israeli army.
Sayeret Matkal in Israel is nothing short of legendary or mythical.
More than just practice. Watching them is General Eliezer Shkedi, head of the Israeli Air Force. He is looking to identify the very best pilots in the squadron, as Israel will only be able to send a limited number of aircraft into Syria.
If you bring too many airplanes, the chances that you will be discovered is bigger. We've done a lot of simulations and calculation. What is the optimum number that is making sure that the reactor will be destroyed?
A date has yet to be decided for Operation Orchard. But then Prime Minister Olmert receives intelligence that forces his hand. Mossad has detected activity on the Syrian coast.
Mga ka-explorer, subaybayan po natin ang mga susunod kabanata para updated po tayo sa mga kaganapan. Sana ay nagustuhan niyo sa panonood ang Operation Orchard ng Mossad ng Israel. Hanggang sa muli, ito ang newscaster na si Stephanie Reyes na nag-uulat mula sa Explorer 101 at isang Journey Begins Studio Channel. Mangyaring huwag po nating kalimutang mag-like, mag-share, at mag-subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. PKI hit na rin po natin ang bell icon para lagi po tayo updated sa mga susunod na videos. Malaking tulong po sa aming mga beginners ang inyong pagsuporta. Marami pong salamat. Ang pagpapala po ng ating mahal na Diyos Ama ay sumaatin pong lahat in Jesus' name. God bless to all po at palagi po tayong mag-iingat. Salamat po mga ka-explorer sa pagtangkilik sa Explorer 101 at isang Journey Begins. Mga ka-explorer, subaybayan po natin ang mga susunod kabanata para updated po tayo sa mga kaganapan. Sana ay nagustuhan niyo sa panonood ang Operation Orchard ng Mossad ng Israel. Hanggang sa muli, ito ang newscaster na si Stephanie Reyes na nag-uulat mula sa Explorer 100 at isang Journey Begins Studio Channel. Mangyaring huwag po nating kalimutang mag-like, mag-share, at mag-subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. PKI hit na rin po natin ang bell icon para lagi po kayong updated sa mga susunod na videos. Hanggang sa muli, ito ang newscaster na si Stephanie Reyes na nag-uulat mula sa Explorer 100 at isang Journey Begins Studio Channel. Mangyaring huwag po nating kalimutang mag-like, mag-share, at mag-subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. PKI hit na rin po natin ang bell icon para lagi po tayong updated sa mga susunod na video.